his choice after rebirth. When Lucius rejected the lunch I offered him in this life, I realized he had also been reborn. In my previous life, we were seen as the ideal couple. But behind closed doors, Lucius never once entered my room. I used to think he was just cold and reserved. It wasn't until he died in an accident that I truly understood. In his heart, I was merely the obstacle separating him from his moonlight Selene. "Amelia," he'd said, "if only you hadn't helped me." This time, I decisively offered my lunchbox to the smartest but poorest boy in our class. Seeing his eyes light up, I smiled too. Lucius had his Selene, and in this life, I would have someone who truly captured my heart. "Amelia, take your food back. I've told you before I'll never like you, and I certainly won't eat anything you cook." His cold voice pulled me out of my thoughts. I looked up to see Lucius accepting an old lunchbox from Vivian, the unfortunate girl he once loved. He held her tight, his voice hoarse. "Vivian, I understand now how important you are to me. I won't disappoint you again." In that moment, I knew Lucius had also been reborn. We had both returned to the time when the Lu family was on the verge of bankruptcy, when I often brought him food. In the previous life, it was from that point that his attitude towards me began to change. The man who had once been indifferent suddenly became caring and gentle towards me. I thought he had realized my feelings, so I begged my parents to help the Lu family. After graduation, we naturally got married. In front of everyone, Lucius was the ideal husband, attentive and kind. Everyone praised him. But only I knew he had never once entered my bedroom. Each time, he'd say he worked late and didn't want to wake me. I had my doubts, but seeing no one else by his side, I consoled myself. He was just a cold person. As long as I was in his heart, that was enough. It wasn't until Lucius died in a car accident that I understood his lifelong resentment towards me. He hated me for keeping him and Vivian apart. Even though we were married, he remained pure for her. Before closing his eyes, he looked at me with a gaze full of bitterness. "Amelia, if only you had never helped me. You ruined both my life and Vivian's." After his death, his lawyer informed me that over the years, Lucius had transferred most of his assets to Vivian, and in his will, everything was bequeathed to her. Remembering that, my heart ached as if choked. "You once said you didn't need my help, didn't you? Then in this life, I will help you." I turned my head and quickly spotted a familiar, slender yet determined figure in the crowd. I hurried over. "Hey, classmate, I'm on a diet. Would you mind swapping lunches with me?" Before Jasper could even react, I placed my beautiful bento box in front of him and naturally picked up his metal tray, sitting down opposite him. The dining hall buzzed with whispers. "What's happening? Since when is the school belle Amelia so close to Jasper? Who knows, maybe Lucius rejected her, so she's just grabbing anyone to save face." The whispers grew louder. "Exactly, even though Jasper is the top student in his department, he's so poor he can't even afford a decent lunch. How could a school belle like Amelia even notice him? Jasper's so lucky. I wish she'd chosen me to make Lucius jealous. I'm definitely better than him." I didn't bother explaining. Action was the only true answer. One day, they would all see that I genuinely no longer cared about Lucius. Seeing Jasper's bewildered expression, I pushed the lunchbox closer. "Why are you still spacing out? Eat, or do you need me to feed you?" In my previous life, Jasper and I reconnected through similar acts of kindness. Back then, I was in despair. My parents had passed away early, and I had isolated myself, drinking until I suffered a stomach hemorrhage. When Jasper broke down the door, I had collapsed on the carpet. Waking up in the hospital, the first thing I saw was his red-rimmed eyes. By then, he was a tech mogul, yet he gently fed me millet porridge spoon by spoon. He advised me not to give up, hiring lawyers to help me reclaim what was mine. I knew Jasper liked me, but every time we met, he maintained his distance. I thought I was overthinking, believing that with his status, any woman could be with him. It wasn't until Lucius's assistant informed me that I learned Jasper had late-stage stomach cancer. He had lived a harsh life since childhood, working relentlessly. Now, he only had a few months left. Before he passed, Jasper's only wish was for me to live a good life. Fortunately, fate had given me a chance. After his funeral, I ran a high fever for several days. When I woke up, I found myself back in the past. In this life, not only do I want to live well, but I also want to live happily ever after with Jasper. I will provide him with all his meals every day so he no longer has to suffer hunger. Thinking of this, I picked up a lion's head meatball with my chopsticks and brought it to his mouth. "Eat up, this is delicious." Jasper was startled, his face flushing. I I can eat by myself." With that, he quickly took the chopsticks and lowered his head, eating without daring to look at me again. The corners of my mouth curved upwards slightly. That familiar feeling returned. Yes, this was my Jasper. No matter which life, he was always so shy. "Slow down, eat carefully." I ladled a bowl of soup and placed it beside him, my voice as gentle as a breeze. Compared to the exquisite lunch I had prepared, Vivian's lunchbox only contained 2 steamed buns, a bit of pickled vegetables, and stir-fried bean sprouts. Even Lucius's friends couldn't help but wrinkle their noses in disdain. "Are you serious, Lucius? You're not eating Amelia's food but choosing this." Vivian looked embarrassed, lowering her head and whispering, "I'm sorry, Trite. My family is poor. This is all I could make." Lucius looked at the lunchbox with a slight hesitation. In his previous life, he had never tasted Vivian's cooking, so he naturally didn't know what she was capable of. But hearing her words, he immediately grasped her hand, his eyes filled with affection. "It's okay, Vivian. Everything you made with your own hands is far better than those who rely on chefs. I love your cooking. Before, I deliberately kept my distance, fearing you would suffer with me. But not anymore. I only want to be with you." With that, Lucius took a steamed bun and began to eat it with the pickled vegetables. His eyebrows subtly furrowed, but he quickly forced a satisfied smile. I knew Lucius was trying to mock me, but I was no longer the Amelia who used to doubt herself over a single word from him. It was true I couldn't cook, but that didn't mean I wasn't sincere. The meals I brought were designed by a nutritionist and prepared by a Michelin-starred chef at my home. Wasn't that better than those wilted vegetables? Suddenly, a piece of rib appeared on my plate. Jasper had just picked it up for me with a new pair of chopsticks. "You should try it too," he murmured, his voice low and a little shy, as if afraid I wouldn't like it. "You're already doing great. Cooking isn't just for girls. Plenty of boys are amazing cooks." After he said that, Jasper's ears turned red. I chuckled, a gentle yet knowing laugh. I understood Jasper was trying to encourage me, and he really was an excellent cook. I had enjoyed his cooking countless times in my previous life. We were only halfway through our meal when Lucius arrived with Vivian. They held hands, looking at me with hostile eyes. "Amelia, whatever your intentions are now, I just want you to know one thing. In this entire life, I only like Vivian. So stop these pathetic charades. The more you do this, the more I hate you." Vivian also looked at me with tear-filled eyes, feigning pity. "Amelia, I know you like Trite very much too, but he and I truly love each other. I hope you can bless our relationship." Hearing them, I felt like the villain, bent on destroying their love. In my previous life, I only learned of Vivian's existence after Lucius died. Now, I calmly used a tissue to wipe my mouth, then slowly spoke. "All right, I wish you both happiness." "Amelia, what exactly are you planning? What did you just say?" Lucius had expected me to cause a scene and cry like before, having prepared all his retorts. He never imagined I would calmly agree, leaving him utterly astonished and disbelieving. Even the surrounding students turned to stare. "I said, Lucius, I don't like you anymore. I wish you both to be together forever, bound for life." The last part I only thought to myself, "And it's best if you don't harm anyone else." "Oh, Trite, that's wonderful. Amelia has blessed us." Vivian excitedly threw herself into his arms. Lucius stood dumbfounded for a moment, then tried to force a smile, but anyone could see it was strained. I watched them leave and couldn't help but chuckle. Would love alone be enough to satisfy their needs? I merely wondered how long such a materialistic love would last. After finishing our meal, I walked out of the cafeteria hand in hand with Jasper. This action made many students stare, which was understandable. Everyone knew how intensely I had pursued Lucius before. When we reached a secluded spot, Jasper suddenly pulled his hand away. "Amelia, are you being so kind to me just to provoke Lucius?" His voice was calm, but I felt an inexplicable sense of unease. "No, it's not like that." Before I could finish, Jasper gently interrupted. "It's okay. Even if it is to provoke Lucius, it doesn't matter. As long as it helps you, Amelia, you can ask me to do anything." His eyes at that moment were sincere, a little naive and full of earnestness, making my nose sting. In both previous and current lives, Jasper had always been so gentle with me, unconditional and undemanding. I decided not to explain further. Otherwise, if I were too good to him, he would surely distance himself later. "Then let's go somewhere now." I took his hand again and Jasper immediately followed. "Where are we going?" "To the hospital." I took Jasper for several health checkups, especially for his stomach. The results showed nothing serious, just mild gastritis that required regular medication. I breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Jasper didn't have stomach cancer yet. When we left the hospital, he was still bewildered. Amelia, can just going for a checkup really make Lucius angry? I chuckled at his strange thought but didn't answer. I just carefully reminded him, remember to take your medicine when you get back to the dorm. From now on, I'll monitor your diet daily. I was only halfway through my instructions when he grabbed my wrist. If there's anything else you want me to do, just say it. I can do it. He seemed to be trying his best to support me. I looked up at Jasper, then suddenly reached out my other hand and gently tucked away the slightly messy hair on his forehead. Jasper instinctively froze, closing his eyes, but he didn't step back. My hand ran through his hair, caressing his forehead, tidying his bangs to reveal his bright eyes and the face that had been hidden for so long. Jasper's world seemed to light up. Before him was a girl's radiant smile. Yes, Jasper, I want to see you truly happy, truly bright. Do you know? You have a beautiful smile. Really, that's why I want to see you smile more. People often say the stomach is where emotions reside. A good mood also improves stomach health. Besides, Jasper was indeed handsome. In school, his hair had hidden his good looks, but after graduation, he became the ideal type for many girls. If only Jasper had agreed to date one of them back then, he surely could have saved at least 5 or 6 years of effort. After parting with Jasper, I went home. As soon as I stepped inside, I saw Lucius's parents sitting in the living room, with Lucius himself looking thoroughly reluctant beside them. Seeing me, he immediately stood up. Amelia, didn't you say you'd support Vivian and me? Why then did you invite my parents to your house? Clearly, your previous generosity was just a pretense, but let me tell you, my family doesn't need help from yours. I will restore my company on my own. I just hope you stop clinging to me. I recalled how, in my previous life, Lucius's parents frequently came to complain about various difficulties. Back then, still infatuated with Lucius, I had personally invited them over, just like today. I even promised my own parents that I would help the Lu family in every possible way. But thinking about it now, it was no longer necessary. If you don't need it, then so be it. Compared to Lucius's anger, I was much calmer. Auntie, uncle, you both heard him. Lucius himself said he doesn't need our family's help, so there's nothing we can do. Mom, Dad, if it's not urgent, please don't keep Auntie and Uncle for dinner. They probably have a lot to do. With that, I turned and walked upstairs, not bothering to spare Lucius another glance. Behind me, I heard my father tell Mr. Chen, the butler, to see the guests out, and he sounded angry. Back in my room, I immediately found a pile of unused blankets and quilts. In my previous life, to prove he wasn't the most pathetic person, Lucius often told me stories of his poor youth. He spoke of days during his startup, with no money for food, insufficient clothes. When winter came, he only had a thin blanket and a tattered cotton jacket, waking up cold every morning. But now, with me, he wouldn't just eat well, but also dress warmly and sleep soundly. I gathered them into a large bag, so heavy it was a little difficult to lift. I called out, intending to ask Mr. Chen for help. Where are you planning to take all this? A voice echoed from behind me. I unintentionally replied, to Jasper, who else? He's the most important person to me now. A long moment passed, and Mr. Chen still didn't arrive. I turned around to find Lucius blocking my doorway, his eyes staring at me coldly. Then he let out a sneering chuckle, leaning against the doorframe. Amelia, you said that on purpose because you knew I was here, didn't you? Do you think I'd care? If you really like me, you can be my little sister. I'll see you when I'm free, but you must remember to always put Vivian first. Don't compete with her. Otherwise. Slap. Before he could finish, I slapped him hard across the face. You dare hit me? Lucius froze for a few seconds, gritting his teeth, looking at me with disbelief. What's wrong with hitting you? I retorted coldly. If you don't know how to behave properly, don't blame me for not treating you as a person. I wondered why it suddenly smelled so foul. Turns out it's because you're spouting such vile things. Do you think I'm still the naive fool you could manipulate like in my previous life? Do you think I'm a king opening up a harem? If you dare stand in front of me and say such vulgar things again, next time I won't be the only one to take action. With that, I called for the bodyguards and had all 3 lusts thrown out. From the second floor, I clearly saw Lucius's father slap him very hard. Perfect. My right hand, his father's left. Didn't I tell you to take good care of the girl? Why are you doing this? Lucius snapped back. Don't worry, Dad. Even without relying on the Qiu family, I will still make our family prosper again. I just found it amusing. In my previous life, I had thought that even if Lucius was cruel to me, at least his love for Vivian was genuine. But now it showed that even that wasn't true. His love was merely a calculation of profit and loss. In my previous life, he chose me because he feared bankruptcy. In this life, knowing he would definitely succeed, he chose Vivian but still wanted to keep me as a backup plan. Men like that are truly trash. Fortunately, in this life, we had completely cut ties. After tidying up, I bought a few more sets of clothes for Jasper, then had my driver take me to school. As soon as he received my call, he immediately ran out of the dorm. When he stood before me, beads of sweat still dotted his forehead. I gently wiped it with a tissue. My first question was, "Have you taken your medicine and eaten yet?" Jasper nodded vigorously, then pulled a small box from his pocket and placed it in front of me. "I want to give you this." I opened it to find a gold necklace. My eyes immediately welled up. I knew well this was his mother's relic, the most precious possession he had left. In his previous life, even when hounded by creditors and having nothing to eat, he never once thought of selling it. Yet now he was willing to give it to me, someone he had only known for a day. "You don't like it?" Seeing my expression, Jasper began to fluster. No, I love it." I quickly shook my head. His expression softened a little then. "So, do you accept it?" "I accept." My future mother-in-law's relic, Jasper could only give it to me. As he put it on me, I immediately opened the car trunk, took out a pile of large bags, and handed them to him. At first, Jasper firmly refused. I told him I'd need his tutoring because I often failed my final exams, so this was compensation for his tuition fee. "Honestly, if you don't take it, don't blame me for ignoring you later." In the end, Jasper had to accept. "Don't be shy about wearing them. Wear this one tomorrow, okay?" I pointed to a bag beside him. Jasper nodded. Thus, the next morning, when class started at 8:00 a.m., everyone saw a young man with a neat hairstyle, wearing a black turtleneck underneath and a coffee-colored wool coat over it. With his height of 1.88 meters, he immediately attracted attention in class. "Who is that? He looks familiar. Is he a student here?" "No way." If our school had such a handsome heartthrob, I'd definitely know. "Maybe he's just accompanying his girlfriend." I smiled and waved at him. "Jasper!" I felt satisfied hearing the surprised gasps from everyone around. Although Jasper was very handsome in his previous life too, in this life, I had personally overseen his transformation. Who could understand the feeling of nurturing and witnessing such a metamorphosis? When Jasper sat down beside me, I asked, "Who cut your hair?" He seemed a little shy. "The dorm manager helped me." I nodded. "It looks great, it really suits you." As my hand felt a little cold, I touched his reddened earlobe. Jasper flinched slightly but didn't pull away. He simply handed me the study notes he had prepared late into the night, earnestly presenting the detailed study plan he had personally created. Behind us, Lucius sat witnessing our close relationship, his expression growing increasingly unpleasant. One of his friends couldn't help but mock him with a chuckle. "Do you still think Amelia can't live without you? Look at Jasper, he's no less impressive than you." Lucius glared at the person, then stood up and walked away. Even when Vivian called out to him, he didn't turn back. Later, I began to regret making Jasper so handsome. Walking down the street, every few steps, a female student would approach him, asking for his WeChat. Even girls who used to look down on him now actively offered him snacks. Fortunately, Jasper knew how to keep his distance, not giving them any opportunity. Today, after class, I planned to invite him to dinner. Before I could even reach the men's dorm, I overheard some students chatting. "Did you see that earlier?" A few tall guys dragged Jasper into the alley near the south gate of the school. "Yeah, I heard his father is deep in gambling debt and has now run away. Sigh, my mom always said, no matter how handsome a man is, he's useless without money." Hearing that, I immediately ran towards the south gate. As I neared the alley, I suddenly heard a loud thud, the sound of someone's head hitting the wall hard. My heart abruptly tightened. I rushed into the dark alley and saw several burly men lying on the ground, unable to get up. Only Jasper stood upright, head bowed, calmly lighting a cigarette. His heel was pressed against the cheek of one of them, and without blinking, he brought the lit cigarette close to the man's wrist. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the alley. Jasper's voice was colder than I had ever heard it. "What he did has nothing to do with me. If you find him, you can break his arms and legs for all I care. But if you dare touch anyone close to me again, I swear, even if it costs me my life, I will make you pay." With that, the men stumbled, helping each other up and fled. "Who's there?" Jasper's gaze, sharp as a knife, immediately swept towards the alley entrance. I awkwardly stepped out, forcing a sheepish smile. "It's me." Jasper froze, his deep eyes fixed on me, his blood-stained fingers trembling uncontrollably. I hurried over to check his injuries. The moment I touched him, he flinched as if shocked by electricity, trying to pull back, but I held his hand tightly. "Don't move." Jasper actually stood still, allowing me to examine him from head to toe. In the end, besides a few scratches on his face, there was only a small burn on the back of his hand, probably from that guy's cigarette butt. I pulled Jasper out of the alley. He didn't resist, docilely following me. I told him to wait outside the pharmacy. He obediently sat down immediately. When I returned, his sitting posture hadn't even changed. As I disinfected his wounds, Jasper finally couldn't hold back and asked, "Don't you hate me?" I still didn't look up. "Hate what? Hate me for fighting back when I was bullied? Or hate me for wanting to keep my distance now, so I don't dirty your clothes?" I had realized a long time ago that Jasper was not as simple as he seemed. Anyone who could make the entire business world respect him within 10 years couldn't possibly be an easy target for bullying. He possessed intelligence and cunning, but that couldn't erase the gentleness he showed me, nor could it change the fact that I loved him. It was true, having a boyfriend who was handsome and cold to the rest of the world, but only gentle with me. Thinking of that, I wanted to wake up smiling, but the person in front of me bowed his head, his voice full of self-doubt. "You once said you hated people who start fights, didn't you?" "When did I say that?" Before I could ask again, he quickly explained, "I didn't intend to fight, it's just that when he knew you often went with me, he demanded to meet you, so I—" Before he could finish his sentence, I pulled him down by his collar and kissed him on the lips. What was he mumbling about? His lips were cool and soft. The kiss was delightful. When I let go, Jasper hadn't quite registered what happened. He stared at me, bewildered. "You just kissed me." His voice was full of surprise, disbelieving. I nodded, very proud. "So what? I felt like kissing you, so I did. Is there a problem? You can kiss just because you feel like it." I nodded again. "Of course." No sooner had I spoken than Jasper grabbed the back of my neck and leaned down to kiss me back. Unlike my gentle kiss earlier, Jasper's kiss was deeper, more intense, as if wanting to release all the suppressed loving emotions of years past. It wasn't until I was nearly breathless and out of strength that he finally let go. That kiss truly sealed the romantic relationship between Jasper and me. The only difference in how we were together was that I continued to buy him food, and he continued to help me study. The sole change was that sometimes, Jasper couldn't resist pulling me into a secluded corner for a light kiss. We were enjoying these happy moments when we heard news of Lucius and Vivian arguing. Apparently, Vivian had slapped Lucius twice in public. The reason was simply that she wanted to celebrate her birthday at a 5-star hotel, but Lucius couldn't afford it. She also wanted to buy an Hermes bag, which he couldn't buy either. The result was that he only gave her a counterfeit bag worth a few million as a birthday gift. It really would have been strange if he hadn't been slapped. But at this moment, I wasn't in the mood to feel happy because I was currently being forced by Jasper to study for the English Level 6 exam at an off-campus library. I felt completely drained. Witnessing him mark X after X in red pen on the homework I had just completed, I truly despaired. "Jasper, can't we study some professional subjects or advanced math with calculus? I think those are more important." He placed his hand over mine, pressing it down on the table. "No need, you're already good at those subjects. Right now, the most important thing is the upcoming Level 6 exam." With that, he continued to review the translation I had just written. I secretly glanced at Jasper, then turned away in annoyance. This guy, everything about him was great, but when it came to studying, he was inflexibly rigid. Ding, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Jasper. "Study seriously, and tonight, I'll let you touch my abs." I immediately sat up straight and turned to look at him. Jasper's ears were flushed red, but he continued to grade my work seriously as if nothing had happened. This guy really knew how to use softness to conquer hardness. Thanks to my diligent care, Jasper's abs were already starting to form. The last time I secretly peeked, he probably had a 6-pack, and while it wasn't the 8-pack he had in my previous life, touching it was still very enjoyable. As he leaned down to prepare to explain the lesson, I whispered, "All right then." Jasper's eyelashes fluttered slightly, and his lips pressed together. I thought he would ignore me, but unexpectedly he replied, When we left the library, Jasper said he would buy me ice cream. I waited outside, and just then I saw Lucius and his father emerge from the adjacent office building, looking utterly dejected. Lucius's father was so angry his face was flushed red. "Didn't you say that as long as we presented the cooperation plan, CEO Wang would definitely invest? We waited all morning, and he didn't even show his face." How much humiliation have you brought me?" With that, he got into the car and drove off, leaving Lucius standing there, muttering, "This can't be. How could this happen? It wasn't like this in my previous life." I just smiled indifferently to myself. Of course, it wasn't like that in his previous life because my family was secretly supporting Lucius. Every time he went to negotiate, my parents would always contact the other party in advance. If the partner wasn't interested, my family would cover the investment. Who wouldn't like a deal that was both inexpensive and brought prestige? That's why the success of the rich is often just about being able to try and fail. What strategic vision is there? The important thing is whether they have enough capacity to test and make mistakes. At that time, to protect Lucius's reputation, my parents never revealed the truth. They only hoped he would be grateful and treat me well. Who would have thought they would raise such an ungrateful dog that betrayed them? When Jasper returned with the ice cream in hand, seeing my gaze still fixed on Lucius as he walked away, his eyes suddenly became grave. As he approached me, Jasper forced a smile and handed me the ice cream. At that moment, I still happily enjoyed the ice cream as usual, even feeding him a bite. The only thing was, I didn't notice the unusual expression in Jasper's eyes. After some time of being supervised by Jasper, I finally finished my English Level 6 exam. Based on my rough assessment, the chances of passing were very high. As I happily thought about finally being able to go on a proper date with my boyfriend, I heard that Vivian had dropped out of school. Apparently, she got pregnant and married, but the child wasn't Lucius's. It belonged to the owner of the restaurant where she worked part-time. Although the man was older, he was quite dashing and certainly wealthy. Now I understood that Vivian had probably never truly loved Lucius. She only loved money. In any case, their affairs no longer concerned me. I just saw it as a humorous story to casually discuss with friends, who wouldn't enjoy seeing their enemies face consequences. But Jasper, seeing me talk so animatedly, seemed sad. I asked him what was wrong, but he didn't answer. His eyes looked at me with deep resentment and sorrow, as if I was about to abandon him. The answer to that question came 2 days later. That day, Jasper and I had arranged to meet at the school gate. From a distance, I saw a crowd gathering. I had a bad feeling. I ran over just in time to see Jasper and Lucius fighting. When I arrived, Jasper had been punched twice by Lucius and fallen to the ground. I quickly helped him up, confirmed he was all right, then turned to Lucius, angrily saying, "Lucius, are you crazy? What right do you have to hit someone?" Lucius strained his neck, yelling, "Amelia, are you blind? Clearly, I was hurt more. Didn't you see that guy just hit me?" He grew even angrier. If not for a few students pulling him back, he probably would have charged in to fight again. I immediately stood in front of Jasper. "I came to meet my boyfriend, not to mediate. You hit my boyfriend and you expect me to sympathize with you?" Hearing the words, "my boyfriend," Lucius suddenly stopped, his eyes red-rimmed, his voice stammering. Do you really love him?" I laughed. "What else? We've been together for a long time." "If I don't love him, who do you expect me to love, you?" With that, I didn't bother looking back at Lucius and led Jasper away. When no one else was around, I finally let go of Jasper's hand, gave him a look, then turned and walked away. Jasper knew he was at fault, only following behind me with a pitiful expression. We walked for a long time, but he didn't apologize. Unable to bear it any longer, I stopped and asked seriously, "Do you know why I'm angry?" Jasper nodded. "I know I shouldn't have gone into a fight." "Wrong?" I sharply flicked his forehead. Jasper hunched over, his forehead reddening, but he still endured patiently, looking at me with sad eyes. "I'm angry because you intentionally let yourself get hit, giving Lucius a chance to land a punch. We've been together for quite a while. I know Jasper's abilities well. If he didn't want to, Lucius wouldn't have been able to touch him. Don't you know how upset I would be? To put it plainly, you don't trust me. You don't trust that I will always stand by your side unconditionally. You don't trust that even if you hit Lucius, I would protect you to the end." The more I spoke, the more humiliated I felt, my eyes already red. I turned to leave, intending to go home, when suddenly a strong arm pulled me back, holding me tightly from behind. "I'm sorry, Amelia." Jasper buried his face in my neck, his voice trembling. Soon after, I felt my shoulder getting wet. Was he crying? Realizing that immediately softened half my anger and added a bit of excitement at having made Jasper cry. It was true, as they say, a man's tears are a powerful weapon indeed. Still, I tried to maintain a cold tone. "Jasper, I'm still angry." He nodded gently but didn't let go of me. "If you want me to stop being angry, then tonight, wear the uniform I bought you earlier." Jasper's arms around my waist stiffened. Perhaps he didn't understand why, in this situation, I was still thinking about that asterisk, but wanting me to stop being angry, he could only agree. Later, Jasper told me that a few days prior, he had been very upset because he thought I still loved Lucius. Therefore, when he saw me happy about Lucius breaking up with Vivian, he felt uneasy. Before, Jasper always thought that as long as I was happy, it was enough. But now, he wanted to be the one to bring me that happiness. So when he learned Lucius was coming to see me, Jasper intentionally played a light trick to make me feel more sympathetic towards him. Did this guy really think I still liked Lucius? I had made it so obvious. If that was the case, I'd have to use all the tight shirts, armbands, and suspenders to let him know that I really liked him. Actually, I had even considered buying cat ears and animal tails but was afraid of scaring Jasper off, so I saved those for later. There was still a long road ahead. I thought after the last incident, Lucius would understand and wouldn't come looking for me again. But today, I saw him standing outside my house. As soon as he saw me, he went straight to the point. "Amelia, you've also been reborn, haven't you? There's no need to deny it quickly. I should have guessed a long time ago. Otherwise, you wouldn't have changed so much and wouldn't have forgotten me so easily." I was no longer in the mood to pretend. So what if it's true? Does discussing this now even matter? Lucius let out a bitter laugh. "I know you hate me for loving only someone else my entire life." Seeing his self-pitying, imagined sympathetic expression, I couldn't help but laugh. "I did hate you, but not because you loved someone else, but because you were cowardly and shameless. I wondered throughout my previous life why I knew nothing about your relationship with Vivian, yet you blamed everything on me, simply because you didn't dare to face your own weakness and helplessness. You wanted to both exploit my family's help and hold your beautiful lover close. Even at death, you still dreamed of having a clear conscience and then blamed me for ruining your love with Vivian. Lucius, you disgust me. Reality proves that even without me, you and Vivian would never have gone anywhere because both your natures are selfish and calculating." Lucius couldn't say anything, finally just closing his eyes, which were red-rimmed. "So, is there truly no hope left between us, Amelia?" I didn't want to look at him again. If I could, I'd rather never have known you. Lucius's body trembled, then he sat down on the ground, burying his face in his hands and crying. After graduating from university, I began to take over the family business. As for Jasper, in his 4th year, he partnered with friends to open a small tech company and was busy from morning till night. I had offered to help them once. However, he decisively refused. "If I can't stand on my own 2 feet by your side, then I don't deserve to be with you." And from then on, we entered a true long-distance career relationship, seeing each other less, striving more. Many times, I wanted to cling to Jasper all day and never leave. But after everything I had experienced, I understood that no matter how much you love someone, you can't forget yourself for their sake. So this time, my determination to focus on my career outweighed my love. I was determined to rebuild my family's business step by step. Later, I heard from my parents and a few old friends that the Liu family had completely gone bankrupt. Lucius and his parents had fled abroad to escape debt. Now no one knew where they were. As for Vivian, after giving birth, she was repeatedly betrayed by her husband and was now going through divorce proceedings. Another winter arrived. Snow was falling outside. It was a rare day off for both Jasper and me. We stayed home, warming ourselves and watching movies by the fireplace. I rested my head on his lap, feeling sleepy. Seeing the male lead in the movie fall in love at first sight, I couldn't help but ask, "Jasper, when did you start liking me?" From my previous life until now, I still wasn't sure when he truly began to love me. It felt like ever since I became aware of his presence, he had already loved me. Jasper gently stroked my head, his hand playing with a lock of hair by my cheek. "Oh, you're really sleepy now." Jasper began to tell me a story about a little boy. That year, the boy was only 8 years old. His mother was in the hospital, needing urgent surgery, but his father wanted to take all their money to gamble. Right in front of the hospital gate, the father and son argued. Actually, the father was unilaterally beating the child. The boy couldn't resist. He could only hold the money tightly against his chest. The adults around didn't dare to intervene. Finally, a little girl, unable to stand by, called the bodyguards to take the father to the police station. At that time, the little girl angrily said, "I hate people who fight the most." My parents said people who fight are bad people and will be arrested by the police. Not only that, but the little girl also invited him to eat and asked her parents to withdraw the money for the surgery. Before leaving, the little girl promised to come back and visit the boy. However, he waited a very long time, but the little girl never returned. Later, the boy's mother didn't survive, but he always remained grateful to that little girl, only hoping one day to express his sincere thanks. So, thank you, Amelia. With that, Jasper gently kissed my cheek as I slept soundly. Then, he turned off the TV and carried me into the bedroom. Winter was truly cold, but he only wanted to quickly slip under the covers and sleep with his wife.